I just tried to edit a video and it was a stupid fucking video, so it didn't matter what I edited of it. I'm just updating my videos now. Not sure where I'm going to put this one. Maybe it'll be a Wednesday extra. But hi, how are you? And I thank you and appreciate you who knows how to be cool, you know. And I'm going through a time, I'm supposed to be going through a time of reseeding my energies so that I can get my own concentration together. How about that? And so I really appreciate whoever donates into me during still the Mars retrograde. I am doing pretty good as far as just being kept in limbo, I guess. Um, it's getting ready to rain or snow, most likely, and ideally I would go out and start working on this one tree. Some of a tree fell in my yard in the back here next to the creek, and I haven't went out to chop it up yet, but when I do, it will be gathered up and um, at the very least I'll just buck it up and put it in piles anyway. See, I'm going to be reseeding, making videos from here on out. I was probably not going to make videos until, who knows, until I get more inspired to make them. I'm going through some stress with, of course, it's the love life, right? But really, what is that? You know, I'm talking about just, it's a time of not being all that ready. And I speak for humanity, really, you know, with Mars going in backwards into Cancer. And it's like, well, when are you ever going to be ready? No, well, you'll see. The energy is going to change. In 2025, okay, we can talk about Uranus that has been going backwards and that just went forward. And it's going to approach new territory. And when these planets, same with Neptune, when they start doing new territory, which is, it happens to be that they're going to start getting closer to switching a whole sign. That's by April. There's going to be a lot of changes. We don't really know the nature of what the mainstream or, like, you know, the powers that be that try and hijack all of this away from us. We don't really know what that's going to entail. But some of us that know how to sit still enough will probably help us through, like, their way of guiding us through, because after all, really, none of this is really that profoundly an experience, or even does it matter, right? Except for we have a civilization where people are trying to get along, so-called relationships. And there's where, like right now, it's a big question of who in our lives are really serving our greatest good. Like, yeah, like, because it's a time where we need to change our band-aids or something like that, or it's just because Mars is in Cancer, it's a very awkward time for mankind. See, womankind, if you want to look at the two in astrology like that, that Venus is in Aries, which is Mars ruled, and then you look at Mars in a very bad place over there, kind of in crutches, and it's time to take all those away from the human being, but more like get into more of healing instead of having crutches, right? And just doing the excruciating work of reseeding and taking care. A lot of people see Mars, Aries, doesn't know how to do that very well. That's why Cancer is there, like, it's a square. It's not why, but it shows up that way. It's like Cancer says, I feel. Aries just can't help it and says, I am. And well, you know, when Aries gets sick, which is just the human organism, really, Cancer is there saying, well, maybe you should wear your jacket next time and put some shoes on, and do you need some good food, and would you like to get some rest, and did you find shelter? Did you build up some shelter after all the fighting, I guess? You know, it's kind of the I am could be warlike. Doesn't have to be, no. And I'm here to tell you that, well, it was at one point, with we had the moon's nodes in Aries and Libra, and that was really intense. We just went through that for 2 years and a half, and now just a week ago, the nodes, the north node and the south node, switched into a whole different sign, which brings a whole different energy I can feel, because it was in Aries, right in my first house, and affecting my Libra too, and then but now it's in Pisces and Virgo, which starts a whole new vibration. And ecliptically, see, we're going to have an eclipse. I already talked about it maybe a little bit, but I'm going to put this one up, more recent, and that the eclipse in Pisces and Virgo, which has happened, it's on the 14th, yeah, at like well, let me look at the degree. Pardon me. I think it's if I remember right, it's at like 23 degrees or something, which is weird because that squares my Venus. And you want to find out where this is happening in your chart? Pay me $10 and I'll do it on Cash App. You know, just it's sad because you should just learn astrology and get that done for yourself. But if you want to humor me and give me a little boost, because of course that's what's needed. I'm not getting into my personal affairs where I feel like I'm being emotionally extorted, and of course they're gonna accuse me of the same thing, and it's like, how that kind of, wait a minute, do you have your own conversation at all? You get yourself thrown back in your face, which is not even your real self. It's just they they take you and throw it back. I don't know. There is a real known thing that part of the faction of the society out there, if you're not careful, it's like black magic. And the ultimate result is that they have transferred upon you their misery, really their bad energy, and how they live in grief and sadness and guilt and anger all the time, and resentment. And then they take your opportunity of just how happy-go-lucky you may have had inner peace, and you had all this joy around you that just it was a delicacy of your life. They take it and run, right? And now it's them. And they're like, yay! And it's like, you don't think that that's possible, but no, that's like something they don't talk about. It's weird. That's why it's like, well, no, you have to, literally, you can do, this is where you have white magic magicians that do spells that cut cords and start creating barriers, and takes, now, see, if it gets really bad, you have to do soul retrieval, and I'm pretty sure I'm experiencing that, but it has nothing to do but with, it's from years ago, really starting 2005. I'm sorry, 2020, 5 years ago, right? For a lot of people, it's a soul retrieval thing. It's to work through your subconscious programming. It's way worse than I could have ever imagined, but everybody went through having gone into their subconscious, and it's weird the way that trauma will start to work on you like that. And it's okay, it's fine. We're gonna, it's okay. But let's get through. Now talk about the Mars and Cancer, barely, hardly handling any of that subject matter of feeling and then healing. See, but that's what we're doing. We have to, and it's great because Neptune does help us trining Mars, and so does Saturn trine Mars, and even Venus was kind of trining Mars when it was in um, Pisces, but it has gone into Aries, and it's kind of being aggressive about approaching Mars in a certain way, as it is Mars ruled right now. But see, it's a square. It's a square. Mars is in Cancer, and so it's going to back off. They're both going to kind of back away, and there's going to be this thing that goes on. I think it's remarkable, and I want to talk about it more right now. We do have Mercury that's conjunct the Sun while it's full coming up. I think, is it today? Yeah, I'm going to be putting this video on the 12th of the full moon, and it's revelation time. It's shocking revelation time emotionally. It's healing. It's, well, hopefully your heart will handle the truth fine. Maybe, I don't know. Because it's a square, it's kind of for a lot of people that knows what time it is. It's kind of going to be like redundant. You know, it's going to be like, well, didn't you know that you should scale down and relax and really be more real with your feelings, you know, your value system, your relationships, the quality that are being conducted, because that's the Taurus call, the Uranus, and Uranus is Aquarius moon, Aquarius ruled. So this Sun and Mercury conjunct, it's a big thing with the moon full. It's not just any old moon full, babes. It's going to be this revelation that does, in a roundabout way, involve men and women and their electrical bodies, and the feminine principle, because Neptune is going to be a factor in here, because we have the node, the North Node conjuncting Neptune. See, but I was tracking Venus the way it has to do with our love lives and how we get along and stuff, and it's like threatening to square Mars, but Mars starts to move forward, and then she starts to move backwards away from her approach, and they start to move away from each other, kind of like, yeah, and she's going backwards now, back into Pisces. Now, this is just in March, but I think it's very remarkable. We're going to have, see, what keeps sticking out, and I'm going to talk about it a lot more, and I think I can talk about it a lot more, because I'm kind of a Neptunian person anyway, and it's affecting me big time, because Neptune is moving towards my ascendant, and it's going to set off my Neptunian trine, which is a grand trine, has something to do with my artistic ability, mediums through which we do communicate, which is an art form of what? Well, we have spirituality, and we have fire, we have entertainment, we have that the kids love to hear the truth, or maybe get involved in something that they can get involved with, you know what I mean? And on all levels, really, it's all here. We're not going to hide anything, really. Um, but the thing is for the collective, you know, the Aries Neptune is going to be very different than in Aries. See, we are now suggesting for all of you right now to don't be afraid to take a rest. Don't be afraid to recede, really nurture yourself. I'm not saying to pamper yourself and make yourself like put the bubble wrap on. No, get it to where you can be strong. You're building your strength up, you know, but do it non-codependently as much as you can. Make sure that your sources that are supporting you is all for your well-being and health, and they're celebrating the right things that makes you feel seen, and you're growing and you're enhancing, and even being able to access your joy in such a way it's like, you know, soul retrieval, big time. We have to do that. See, so because we have to do that intensely, because even though, yeah, we have Mars that's going to go retro, it's going retrograde, and it's going to go forward at the end of the month here. By the 24th, it starts to move forward, but it's still in Cancer, and it's still in process of like stitching up its wounds, or whatever you want to call it, like trying to, like, for instance, if you can imagine what the people in Malibu, or even the people over on the West Coast, I mean East Coast, that were experiencing the hurricanes and the floods, that was all happening when Mars was first in Cancer in the early degree, and then it's going into the later degree, and it was that long that it's been. And we are now, see, they have a bunch of wounds and trauma and things that they have to work on. It's really just, the call is to be with all of the methods and the ways, and just be with that fact that you have to recede and rest. Rest and be depressed. Get depressed. Deep rest. And don't worry, we're going to pull out of it. See, it's very important to have done this for as much and as long as we can. There's a squirrel on the roof. Even going through March here, you know, March is when we're kind of looking at, are we now, see, we're trying to build our shell around us, but really it's our, I want to say family structure, because it rules Cancer, but it doesn't necessarily have to do family. It's about soul family, feeling people, you know, that do nurture us, that we do reciprocate, and we're not non-feeling, and we are meaningful and not meaningful, if you can understand. So just tracking Mars and just trying to inform people about this, just a passage that we're going through, no matter what. See, what happens is that, I don't know if you realize, but in April, it's going to oppose Pluto again. And I keep repeating myself, but I'm sorry. Right now, our love lives are in question, I guess. But see, with what Venus is doing in between this time that Mars does this like lighting up with Pluto like crazy. I hate to mention it, but it's like the warlords are going to be like in polar swing or shift, and a lot of things therefore will be obvious. We've already seen some obvious stuff going on, and there's talk about it, and there's a lot of eye rolling we can surely bet, because there's enough of a population that doesn't really know that there's a deeper story than the main narrative. And so there's always that guarantee that there's um, that that wool pulling that's done naturally by the society, that just now the word conspiracy theorists come up, that's all they think that we are, who just know it's like, no, you're being attacked, babes. And isn't it more exciting? No, they don't want to have that exciting of a part to play in the movie. So anyway, back to, um, the main thing is like, well, what do you do for your money? I mean, what do you do? Um, are you working for the enemy? See, the more money you make, unfortunately, the more you're working for the enemy. I hate to say, but then again, you'll see that it's not worth it in the end, right? It's always that picture of just you're at a dead end road and you have to throw it inside of the medical or something because you just about killed your life doing it. Sorry about that. I hate to talk about it like that. God, I love you guys, and really, I am. We're all just fascinated about everything, the way it's just flushing into the ocean. Cool. Okay, back to tracking Venus. It's very important to know what she's doing here with her. And then see the North Node having gone to, to Pisces, very different now that, see, the North Node is going to be conjunct Neptune. Neptune is a huge factor. Neptune is the higher octave of Venus, and they give Neptune a bad rap a lot about being deceptive and very negative. And it's like, well, you can do that with a lot of the malefic planets. It is a malefic planet, and it just means beware of that thing, because it's not all what it seems, especially with the deception part, but it's actually capable of illuminating the fact that, yeah, there is deception, and maybe whenever it goes retrograde, it's showing us the truth, and it's like, oh, that's interesting. It's really interesting for all of us. We've already went through the retrograde. Now we're going forward into a new territory, which is talking about the deception of mankind. Overall, it's sad because we're going to see something that is probably more discomforting than ever. But some of us are actually through that, and it's not as bad for some of us. But no, we're all going to be affected. And what I'm saying is that maybe some people will be having been rendered up more resilient than others, to where we're going to see a rise up in through rapture, really, just being able to feel and being able to communicate. See, that's going to be something that's huge. We talk about Uranus, and is one of those planets too that's going to switch over. So we have Saturn, we have Uranus, and we have Pluto already switched over this year. Uranus, Saturn, and Neptune. That's all very major outer planets that represents generational shifts and change, and it's very much a interesting place that we live in, anyway, to be able to look at this, to be ahead of it a little bit, to be able to communicate to some people about the break that we should be taking, and to notice that some people that don't do that well getting slowed down anyway, because of something like, well, they break a bone or something, God forbid, or they get an accident or something like that, and it just sets them back, and they're having to go through an go into their inner realm and start being at peace with a lot of inner stuff that is much more deeper than having broke your arm or something like that. It's time to really work on it. See, ancestral karma. comes up because it's Cancer. It rules family issues and ancestral pains and karma, and to be able to work that out, to be able to go in and to the programming. Very important to talk about that. That's what time it is. That's what it is. Is to look into it, see, and it's important to not confuse each other up with each other. See, that alone time is really important. Some people, I know that the Martian people, me, have just been naturally feeling it. It's like, oh man, it's a bit much for us. We've done a lot. See, when we're talking about the work that we got to do, which is very much has to do within our relationships, babes. It's the quality of the connections that we're making, the, the quality relating. Very important because, yeah, well, we say because, but it's, we have Uranus there in Taurus that is now going to start rattling new wires about that. Before it goes out, you can bet that it's going to be ground breaking, ground shaking. Now, it's the 12th. I put this on the 12th. When the first shaker is going to be happening, see, we're going to have that eclipse that's going on. Now, at the very least, I'll let us know what degree that eclipse is at. I'm just interested because I know some people's charts here, and then I know my chart, and I can look and just know how that particular eclipse is going to be affecting. Now, because it's a different eclipse, it's not in the Aries Libra, it's in the Pisces Virgo. On the 14th, it's like deep off into there. It's oh wow, yeah, it's at 23 degrees, right on my Venus. See, the thing is, it's okay. The south node is on my Venus. Okay, so it's in Venus. The south node is Virgo, in the issue or the area of past life karmas, and that's what I was talking about. Okay, sweeping up the past life ancestral karma and um, the debt that we think we have to take on by these people's traditional values, which may not have been all that hot, because what if it's just programming, and it's the enemy that they're following, and it's not working very well. See, and that's important to look into it. See, the Virgo in the air is definitely going to act as a sweeper. Virgo really very much purges and purifies and sweeps out and cleans whatever it's touching. And so hopefully it will work with me, with my Venus coming up here. I am looking at personally some things that I need to just clean up, and I happen to think it'll happen naturally. It's like, well, give me a break here, okay? Well, the nodes have just switched, and let's see how affected I am with this eclipse and how it just drops away. I'll never take a bong hit again.